Are you using your intuition wrong? What if I told you intuition isn't something you're meant to develop someday, but a natural inner guidance system that's already running in the background of your life at all times? Hey, beautiful soul, welcome in for another episode of Spirit Speakeasy. I am so excited to share about intuition today. Intuition really is a kind of internal compass that helps you, me, all of us feel steadier, more clear, more self trusting as we move through things like decisions and relationships and the unknown of our life ahead, even the really hard stuff. Because when you can access your own answers from within, something very subtle but very significant shifts in you. You stop second guessing yourself as much. You stop needing this constant reassurance from outside of you and validation from other people. You stop outsourcing your clarity to the internet or your group chat or other people's opinions or your own fear that can sometimes be disguised as logic, right? And instead, you begin moving through life with more of a calmer, grounded sense of direction. And we still might not know all the twists and turns ahead for us, but we feel more confident that we can make our choices step by step, no matter what comes up. Doesn't that sound good? I believe that this matters so deeply as we look ahead to 2026, not because you need your entire future mapped out. I don't think it works that way, but because the ability to sense what is aligned and what is not aligned for you and what your personal next step truly is has become one of the most valuable skills that we can have right now. And it's something AI can't touch, by the way. So today's episode is about why learning to work with your intuition is no longer optional if you want to feel anchored, empowered, and emotionally steady in your own life in this next year and forward, and how to reconnect with your own intuition in a way that feels practical and grounded and personal and real instead of murky or dramatic or overwhelming in some way. And before we go further, stay with me until the end. I do have something very special to share. I've been teasing it in December, but there's a huge special announcement for January for a free opportunity to put all of this intuition into practice if you're feeling ready to approach the year ahead with more clarity and more intention and a little bit more empowered. So I want to talk first about why it feels harder to hear yourself now than perhaps it ever has been in the past. We all know that we are living in a time where it genuinely feels harder to just hear ourselves think. There is more noise, more information, more opinions, more urgency pulling from us at every direction, so much more than before. And between these constant news cycles, I mean, just in the past week, I'm recording this just a few days before I'm releasing it. Just in the past week, there have been, I can count just off the top of my head, 10 really big deal things happening in the US and across the world, that just these quick pivots and announcements and so much information and misinformation and disinformation and emotional labor and things that we're carrying than people were holding even just 20 years ago. And many of us are making dozens of decisions just before lunchtime and switching context constantly. We're at home, we're at work, we're online, we're doing all these things all the time. And also at the same time, absorbing other people's moods and needs and expectations all day long. So when life is lived this exteriorly, this much outside of ourself, intuition doesn't disappear, but it does feel harder to access sometimes. Not because you've lost it or you need to develop it or you don't have it, but because there's very little space left in all of that noise to notice that intuition is there just in a calm, quiet way. We're going to talk about this as we go, but often I feel like we are looking for our intuition to show up in a louder way or in a different way than it actually does. And I think that's a huge speed bump to our intuition, is that we're looking for it to show up in a way that it doesn't show up, right? If you, for example, were expecting to receive a very important package and you were looking for a package and the very important thing was actually going to come by email, you'd be looking in the totally wrong place, right? So that's kind of my point. So Especially when we are so crazy in our day to day lives with all of the busy requirements, by the end of the day, or sometimes even mid morning, if I'm honest, we may feel mentally scattered or emotionally exhausted or even disconnected from our own inner signals. This is often when people start saying things like, I don't know what I want anymore, or I don't know where I'm going in life, or I can't even tell what I feel, or I don't trust myself to make decisions, or I don't know the right next steps for myself. But what's really happening isn't actually a lack of intuition, it's overload. And I think we all raise your hand if you have felt overloaded anytime in this past few months. I definitely have in lots of ways. If any of this resonates with you, I want to say this very clearly. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You're responding normally to an environment that rarely invites you inward. And for many of us, even when we try to turn inward, to do a meditation, to take some time for ourselves, our inner hamster wheel is spinning so fast that going within doesn't feel relaxing at all. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients or students or just comments saying, I can't meditate. My mind won't quiet down. I can't stop thinking. I can't stop having arguments in my mind, right? Does that sound like you at all? Well, I am going to share a little personal story here. I want to share something personal because there was a time when I genuinely struggled to hear my own intuition, even though I was already doing intuitive work. And the truth is that we are all human. And no matter how many years we are in our own field, whatever that is, for me, it's intuition and mediumship. And even still, I get distracted into this outer world and have to learn how to come back to myself, have to correct, readjust, reassess, right? So this is something I'm still always working on as well. And that's why I want to share this little story with you. It was about a year and a half ago. I was really wrestling, trying to make a decision that I feel like should have been relatively simple. My office mate was moving away, as some of you know. And while I was so excited for her, I also needed to decide for myself whether to keep this office on my own, whether to sublet someone else's office somewhere else, or sublet my office and share with someone else, or just to move entirely. These aren't crazy options, right? I could definitely do like the pros and cons list. It wasn't a dramatic life crossroads. It was just a decision, right? But instead of clarity, I found myself researching endlessly all the places that might be available in our area or how to take things more online. I did a card reading. I had a couple other friends do card readings on whether it was in my highest good to move or to stay, for example. I could think of, shout out to those gals. They know who they are, but I had a couple people read on this for me. And I really was overthinking and asking opinions of other people and mentally circling the same questions again and again. I knew what I needed on paper, right? I could make a pros and cons list in my sleep. And actually, I had become kind of unhappy with the office where it was. There were some things in the building that just weren't being maintained as well. And, sometimes it's like one thing after another, right? Trash, doors not being locked properly, places not being cleaned up. We had some neighbors at the time that were starting to have a little suspicious activity. And I just was feeling more uncomfortable. So it seemed like, oh, this is going to be very clear, even though it feels scary to move. And if you've never had a small business, it is a little bit dicey to move your physical location. You typically lose about a third to half of your clients that way. Even if I've had it, even when I've moved to a building next door. So not a dramatic decision, but certainly some thought involved. Instead of going within, though, I was asking other people's opinions. And like I said, having card readings done and researching online. And at one point, I even told myself, okay, this pros and cons list is really extensive and I could make a case either way for going or staying. So I'm just going to surrender and let the universe lead. And the truth is, I always find the right office at the right time. That has been true for me the entire time I've had offices of any kind. Except nothing showed up. And I thought, okay, certainly I've made this decision that I'm ready to go. I released this office and I kept like checking online and literally nothing showed up. I met with people, I talked with people, nothing that fit my schedule, parking needs, pricing, air conditioning, restroom access, basic requirements, nothing crazy. And I kept looking and looking online and asking other people that I knew for like who knows people that have office space available. But eventually I just resigned myself to staying put where I was, even though the downsides of that office were starting to really bother me and be uncomfortable. But the more listings I viewed online and the more intuitive friends I consulted, the more confused I felt because I felt like, okay, well, I'm releasing this office, but a new office isn't showing up. So maybe the universe is telling me I should stay where I am. And every opinion that anyone gave made sense in its own way. Even my pros and cons list that I could argue made sense in its own way. But nothing landed for me as a very clear, yes, go this way. And the truth was, I wasn't actually fully listening. I was exhausted. I was a little stressed. I had just moved my physical, like my home, not long before that. I wasn't excited about moving the office, but I wasn't excited about staying. When change comes in our lives, even if it's not a chaotic change, it sometimes sends us spinning in lots of directions. And that's sometimes true for me. And my nervous system was overloaded. Like I said, I just moved my home. I was living like almost entirely in reaction mode, just like, okay, this is happening. What's my next best step? What's my reaction? How do I react? And when you're in that state, anyone, intuition, it doesn't stop working, but it does get kind of drowned out by mental noise and emotional static almost. So the turning point was not finding the answer online or getting one more opinion or one more reading. It was realizing I needed to slow down enough to hear my own intuition, my own inner voice again. I focused on reconnecting with my higher self. Like, I think you guys know if you've been here for any length of time, when I'm struggling or when I'm realizing I've kind of like gone off the beaten path in a way that's not working for me, I know at this point in my work, just because I've been in this so many years, what's the solution? Go back to my tools. So that's what I did. I went back to my tools. I went back to making sure I was doing what works for me, which is meditation, some gentle walking, connecting in with my higher self, making sure I'm trusting my higher self, moving my energy, kind of pondering better questions instead of like, what should I do? There's better questions in there, and trusting what I felt, even when the next steps didn't seem to be lining up, and even when it wasn't dramatic or urgent. And so again, I resigned myself to, well, clearly no new office is showing up. Perhaps the universe is saying stay put because nothing else is showing up. I am fine with just resigning myself to that. I told everyone I was not moving, made peace with staying in this office a little longer. Was even talking to my office mate about what I was going to keep and what I wasn't. We had both had some things in the office, and just focused back to work. It was about less than a week before I would need to give my 30-day notice. And I had even talked to the landlord there and was like, yeah, I'm going to stay. This person's moving out. And I would need to like redo a whole new lease. I had been in that building for a few years. And right before the 30-day window, like days before, less than a week, I was sitting in my office between clients and I felt a very soft, quiet nudge. And it said, do the search again. I dismissed it at first. And I was like, the timing makes no sense. This is not the time of month when new places come online or come on the market. I already made my decision. That's got to be my busy mind just stressing me out. So I just kind of dismissed it. And then a little while later, the nudge came again. It was quiet, calm, gently persistent. Do the search again. And so I searched. And there it was. This listing had not been there even a day or two before. It was a simple listing. It was the office I'm in now. It was perfect timing, perfect fit, just in time for me to give my notice. So the universe did come through in the clutch, as always. And that experience taught me something I still carry with me even now. Intuition doesn't always give us the details we want in the timing we want, but it does always give us what we need. Have you ever felt this? Have you ever felt a moment where you just knew something, but you couldn't explain how you knew it? Not loudly, not like dramatically, just in a quiet inner sensing that something wasn't being said or something wasn't quite right, or that a situation would unfold in a certain way before it actually did. Like, oh, this is going to go like this. And then that's how it goes. Most people have experienced moments like this. They just don't always recognize them as intuition. We don't talk about the word intuition typically in our cultural just language, in our day-to-day language, because we're never taught how to intentionally work with our intuition. We assume that intuition should act like a crystal ball, giving us all the answers, the map forward, showing us our entire life and helping us eliminate discomfort entirely as we understand our future completely. And that's not at all how it works. The intuition rarely hands us a full plan. Instead, it offers guidance in pieces. I like to think of them as breadcrumbs. It could be a pause. It could be a nudge. It could be a next step. It could be you noticing something someone said, and even later you're thinking about something they said, and it might not even seem like it is the most important thing in the whole conversation that you were having. It's just that line in the conversation is just sticking with you. It's going to show us just a gentle next step, not the whole staircase, because it's not decided for us. And as we make choices day by day, the next segment of our path continues to unfold. So intuition is often a sensing, less than like a directive, right? It's subtle. It's efficient. It's easy to miss if you're busy or if you're already questioning yourself and not trusting yourself. And if you've had even a handful of these moments, intuition is already a part of how you move through the world. And I'm glad you're starting to realize it. The question isn't whether you have intuition, it's whether you know how to recognize it, how to trust it, and how to work with it on purpose, right? Because so often, even true for me many years ago, we feel like our intuition just comes in a breeze once in a while. We can't get it when we need it. We don't know how to hear it. Once in a while, we might have a bit of an intuition about a person or a thing, but not when we want to use it in the way we want to use it. And it is possible to use it when you want and in the way that you want. How intuition communicates and how it doesn't, like I was talking about a bit ago, is one of the main challenges here. Intuition doesn't shout. It doesn't panic. It doesn't argue. It might show up as like a calm knowing. Some people experience it even in a physical sensation, like a tickle in their tummy or a warm sensation on the back of their neck. It could be a sense of ease or a sense of resistance. Sometimes it might show up as, oh, I just feel an ease with this person, or I don't know, I just feel resistance to being around this person, right? Even if we don't have more information than that, it can be a simple inner statement, like I was saying in my little story, do the search again. Very simple and concise. It felt neutral and clear. Fear, on the other hand, is loud. Fear is repetitive. It can be urgent. It can be a tummy ache. It demands certainty and guarantees. And we all have some degree of fear just in our human experience, right? It's scary out here in these streets being human. But just learning the difference for you personally in your body, in your system, the difference between how your intuition shows up and how your like inner fear shows up is so valuable. Intuition is more like a GPS. It doesn't show you the whole route ahead. It just gives you the next turn if you're willing to take it, and you have free will, just like with GPS, where you could turn a totally different direction than that little nudge inside of you is suggesting. And when you understand that, you stop waiting for perfect clarity and start trusting each turn by turn direction. When intuition gets cloudy from the inside, there are some reasons that this can happen as well. We've talked a bit about part of what is challenging for our intuition is all this noise on the outside. But what about the noise on the inside? Sometimes intuition isn't hard to hear because the world is loud, even though that can be true too. Sometimes it's hard to hear or understand because of our own patterns or beliefs or protective parts, right? Those parts of us that are trying to protect us from getting hurt again or make a mistake. These things are always running in the background of us as individual human beings. It can be unhealed hurts. It can be fear of repeating the past. I definitely have been guilty of ignoring my intuition because of fear of repeating the past. It can be inner narratives designed, by some unconscious or subconscious part of ourselves to keep us safe, but actually holding us back from exciting decisions and new changes and challenges. And none of this means that something is wrong with you or any of us. It means something inside of you learned how to survive in different ways and collected a different skill set that may or may not serve you in your day-to-day now. But intuition becomes clearer when we're willing to know ourselves, not to bypass ourselves. And that's one of the biggest secrets to clarity in your intuition that almost no one teaches. And those of you that know me know it drives me bananas. So, why does this matter so much, especially right now? As we move towards 2026 and beyond, certainty is rare. So intuition becomes so much more important and so highly valuable to you in your own life. The people who feel most grounded won't be the ones with all the answers. They'll be the ones who trust themselves enough to move forward without guarantees in this chaotic world. Intuition becomes essential because it helps you conserve energy, discern what is aligned for you and what is not aligned for you, and you can respond instead of having reaction, right? This isn't about predicting the future. It's about being internally resourced enough to meet whatever unfolds because we are in an unpredictable world and that's not going to change anytime soon. So, how do we learn to use our intuition on purpose? Intuition isn't just something that happens to you, which is often how we feel. It's something that you can learn to cultivate and work with intentionally from the inside out. And when intuition is paired with a simple structure and internal personal reflections, clarity builds really naturally. And you stop forcing answers, you stop waiting for permission, and you can really start trusting your own inner signals as reliable information. So, I am so excited because I want to invite you to a free virtual training called Take Charge of 2026 with Your Intuitive Edge. This is a focused experience. It's happening January, Monday the 27th, I think it is, 26th, Monday the 26th through the 28th of January, just around the corner. I'll guide you through uncovering your personal theme. We're going to build our own individual intuitive roadmaps. So you will have a roadmap for yourself, for your personal themes for 2026, clarifying your own top areas of focus and learning how to work with your intuition intentionally so that you're not drifting into another year, but consciously shaping it. And there may be some goodies and some bonuses for you. And you can sign up very easily right now on the homepage of my website, joyfulmedium.com. And once you are registered, you will receive everything you need. And I really hope that you will meet me there. It's easy to talk about intuition and for me to say, oh, it's about understanding who you are and your challenges and what your own personal blocks are, how you sabotage yourself so that we can discern the voice of our fear and the voice of our intuition. That's all very logical. And I'm sure you're listening saying, yeah, that makes sense. I get that. I do sometimes know that I'm choosing from my fear of anxiety and not feeling the truth of my intuition. So I can tell you that, but that is not going to give you the tools to then learn how to work with it yourself. I really, in this workshop, those of you that know I do these periodically, I love guiding you through processes. And I've never done this process with a group, a free workshop group before. So I'm so excited to do the processes that I have set up for this workshop because it really will walk you through starting to understand how, like, not what it means to connect with your intuition, but how to connect with your intuition, how to start discerning, oh, that's my fear again, trying to sabotage me, trying to hold me back, versus like, no, that's my intuition saying, actually, I should be a little cautious here. There are actual ways to do this that you can do. And I can guarantee you that you are using your intuition in areas of your life already that I will help you see and understand so that once you know what your intuition feels like, how it does show up, you just can have so much more access to using it. And we will get you all lined out for 2026 with your own personal intentions, your own personal roadmap. And we'll even take a look at what are your own personal stumbling blocks along the way that might block your intuition or your progress or might stop you unconsciously or subconsciously from getting what you actually want. So I hope that you can understand that your intuition isn't something that you need to earn. It becomes clearer when you create the space, when you get really honest and clear with yourself, when you start trusting yourself from within. And there are real tools and techniques for doing this. So you don't need to have everything figured out. You just need a way to take the next aligned steps. And in any situation, there are steps or a path that is more aligned and less aligned for you in any given situation in your day. And it's just a matter of learning how to choose the more aligned step, even when we can't see the entire what's to come, the entire map ahead, because there's always going to be plot twists and chaotic pivots and surprises that we could have never expect, that we can greet moment by moment and trust that we will make the best decisions for ourselves and the most aligned decisions if we just learn to work with this beautiful gift that lives inside all of us. So again, you don't need to have anything figured out. You just need to take the next aligned steps. I'm so grateful for you being here with me today to talk a little bit about intuition. And if you have been wanting to strengthen your own intuition, or even just to map out your year and get some gentle intentions for yourself to start expanding, start growing, start learning more about yourself, so you really can create the life that you want to create moment by moment, day by day, and even year by year. Again, I'm so grateful for you being here with me today. I would love it if you would pop onto the workshop with me. You can sign up right on the homepage of my website, joyfulmedium.com. It's totally free. You can learn all about the workshop and get signed up, and you will get the goodies and you will get access. And I'm really excited to be getting to work with this in January because it's going to line us out intuitively for the year. So thank you for being here with me today. As always, I love sharing these episodes with you and this time with you. And maybe next week I'll share some statistics for the podcast that I got for the year, because you guys are really showing up and really sharing. So thanks for that. And if you have someone in your life that would want to learn about intuition, that you talk about these woo-woo or intuitive things with, please share this episode with them or send them the link to the website so that they can sign up for free and start really tuning into their intuition, because we all have the ability to stop playing small, stop holding ourselves back, and start truly making the small day-to-day choices to create the lives that we really want to experience, not just in 2026, but from now on. Big hugs, lots of love. Bye for now from inside Spirit Speakeasy.